Hey everyone, how's it going? My name is Jay and welcome to Surviving 100 Days in Palworld. It's been a minute since we sat down and recorded a video like this. To be honest, I needed a bit of a break, but this one has been the game that has made me want to come back to it. It looks like a lot of fun, I've heard loads of people talking about it, and the only goal I have for this video really, other than surviving 100 days, is just to have as much fun and capture as many pals as we possibly can, make as much progress as we possibly can, maybe fight a boss or two. And yeah, that's just kind of what's going to be the plan for this video, so I hope you look forward to it. I really had a lot of fun recording this one, so without further ado, let's dive straight in. Our adventure begins waking up half naked on a beach with a sheep, a chicken and a cat staring at me. Do you know, sometimes when I do these voiceovers I never really know what's going to come to mind, and that's a sentence I never thought I'd ever say in my life, but here we are. Next thing I noticed was this tablet thing on the floor that says the towers are the key and the tree holds the truth. Now, I don't know which tree they're talking about. There's lots of trees in this world. Is it one of them trees up there? I guess I'll go and find out, and I'll ask it in a little bit. First things first though, is we came across that chicken that was staring at us, and I didn't like being stared at while I was asleep. It creeped me out a little bit, so I thought I'd teach him a bit of a lesson. Turns out though, I'm a lot stronger than I thought, and I killed him. Sorry. Is this the tree that holds the truth? Tell me the truth. Oh. Well, we leveled up, I guess. Fair enough. Okay. After that, though, we went about and made ourselves a very first primitive workbench. We can use this to make some tools, and I believe we can use it so we can start harvesting materials a bit better. Pretty much every survival game has some variation of this, and I quite like the workbenches in this particular game. After that, I made myself some pal spheres, which is what we use to capture the pals. There's going to be points in this video where I call them Pokemon and Pokeballs. I'm just going to have to deal with it. But anyway, I spent a bit of time beating up this cat, and I got a 100% capture rate for our very first pal. So yeah, very happy about that. A bit further down the road, we came across one of our very first fast travel points. Now, these are going to be used to travel the entirety of the map, and they're going to become very useful the further on we go. We then made ourselves another primitive workbench because I needed to gather some more materials. The other one I'd set at the other side of the beach. I couldn't really bring it with me, so that's fine. I wanted to make some more pal spheres. I've got just enough to make one more, see if we can get some more friends along the way. So I was basically just going to explore this little open area just to see what was going on. We came across this survivor here. He gave us a little bit of supplies, and yeah, that was very useful. Then came across another chicken. This time I wanted to make sure that I could keep him alive, so I hit him until he was just really short on health. Managed to get another 100% catch rate on this guy, and yeah, his name is a Chickapee. Then we came across a Lamball. We're following a similar pattern here. We're just going to try and beat them up as much as we can and get the best catch rate that we can. And eventually I will find out what all of these different pals do. They all have different skills. For example, I think the cat that we caught is good for mining. And I think they also give you a boost with your weight and things like that, with your carry capacity. This point in the game I have no clue about any of that. I just wanted to capture pretty much everything that I saw. And I also know that if you get 10 of each particular pal, then you get XP bonuses, which is going to be a good thing that you can use to level up. So that's going to be a goal at some point, try and capture 10 of every single one. Probably not going to get that done in this video, but we're certainly going to try. After that though, it was a case of trying to find a good spot for a base, and I haven't really gone too far down the road. This area seemed relatively nice to me, so I figured I would just set up here, and that is where we put down our pal box. Now this is where all of your pals will be stored. This is also what counts as your base area. So we set this up and we can set pals to work for us. Now mainly at the moment we're just working through the little tutorial sets that's on the top right hand side there. And this is, yeah, at the moment we can put one pal in the base. These are the ones I'm carrying around with me. And I think we're going to keep the cats with us. We'll put one in the base and the other one can help us fight. So yeah, he's just going to go off and do a bit of mining, and then that'll help us out. After the back of that though, we are going to go ahead and make ourselves a repair bench because our tools are looking a bit low, and this is also one of the things that we need to do to level up the base. I then set about building myself a little home to stay in. If you can see the little border around the outside, that is the outline of our base, so I wanted to put it as close to the corner of that as I can, so it's just out of the way of other things that I want to build. Set myself up a bed so that I can go ahead and get some sleep during the night, but also I need to make some beds for the pals because it says there they would be stressed if they don't have a bed. So I got one of the cats to help me to build their beds. We put a little food box down. It's been a very productive day one, so I'm happy with how things have went so far. And yeah, I'm really enjoying this game. I've only been in it obviously for the one day so far, but I feel like we've made a good bit of progress and I'm excited to see what happens on day 2. But before we go to bed, we have upgraded the area, so we can go ahead and upgrade there, and then there's a few other things we need to do to get it to level 4. We're going to be trying to get it as leveled up as we can, but for now it's off to sleep, ready for day 2. Day 2 starts out by us placing down some berry plantations. This is where we're going to be getting most of the food from initially, but it's also something that once we have enough pals here, they will essentially just feed themselves, and it's something that I then don't have to worry about coming back and make sure they're all fed. If I get the right pals for here, if I get someone who can plant, someone who can water, and then obviously ones who can do the harvesting as well, then that's going to be great. In order to do that, I'm going to need pal spheres, so I went ahead and made myself as many as I possibly could before heading out and taking on another pal here, which is called Gumos, and this is the one that is going to do the planting for me. So this is the one that I want to get back to the base for the berries, and yeah, we managed to catch him pretty easily. After that, it was just a case of going around and exploring a bit more. I came across this cremise. Again, it's another one that I don't have as of yet. The plan is essentially to catch absolutely everything. Whether I get that all done in this video, I don't know, but I will certainly try and get as many as possible. And yeah, it's cool that they have that little feature where you can skid down the ramp, because I like that. Sick of walking around naked though, so we went back to the base and made ourselves some clothes. I think they look pretty cool. A bit further down the road, there was this skilled islander. He was just on the outside of our base, and I think at some point he either glitched out or disappeared, because I never see him again not long after this. And we came across these little things which are called a lift monk effigy. You can use those when you go to a temple to increase your power to catch pals. There's also a bunch of these journals going around. If I'm being honest, I didn't really bother reading them. I wanted to just experience the game my own way first. I'll read more into the lore later on. But as you can see, we've came across a fox parks here. I figured this guy would come in handy for helping us fight, because at certain points we're going to come across much tougher pals. And yeah, this one looks like he was pretty strong. So I figured he would be a good starting pal. I almost called him a Pokemon then. It's going to happen at some point. It's just going to happen. And then yeah, after that, it's just a case of trying to level up as best I can. One of the good things as well is when you capture the pals, not only do you get an XP boost, but the ones you are carrying also get an XP boost as well. So if you'll see in a moment, the guys on the top left of the screen just got a bit of a bonus, and obviously I leveled up, and I'm level 7 already, so I'm pretty happy with the progress that I'm making. I then accidentally hit that chicken a little too hard, and well, he died, so I pushed him in the river. But after that, it was off to fight a penguin. Again, another sentence I never thought I'd ever say in my life, but here we are. This is the guy that I'm going to be using to water the berries for me back at base. So the plan is to try and capture him, break him down a little bit so it's got a better capture rate, and then see if we can get him to work at the base. And for some reason, it just felt like the right thing to do. Whenever I was catching stuff, I'd turn around and look at the camera so you get that pretty cool shot. And I don't know, maybe it's just me who thinks that cool, but I really enjoyed doing that in this playthrough. So yeah, we've got 2 Gomoses back at the base. We've got a penguin guy whose name I've already forgot. It's like Pengulet or something like that. And these guys are going to be the main ones that are going to be kind of taking care of the food around here. And I'm going to bring a few of the Cativas with me, because as I mentioned, they do give you a bit of a carry boost. So it would be cool to be able to carry a bit more stuff, especially in this early on stage, because I'm kind of grabbing anything and everything that I can see. Speaking of grabbing things, I made myself a better bat, because the one I've been using to take out the pals isn't great, so I've made myself a much stronger one. And then I came across my very first egg. Now, I wasn't really sure what to do with this as of yet, but we will find out a bit later on that you can incubate them, and that becomes a big part of the playthrough. Day 3, and we are up early, ready to go, and yeah, mainly the plan again is just going to be catching as many things as possible. Now you may see there's a few ones in the background there that I'd never seen before. These guys come out at night, and this one in particular is called Daydream. So yeah, there's going to be certain pals that only come out at specific times. There's going to be ones that I'll only find in caves. But yeah, I just want to capture anything and everything that I can see at the moment, because I want to really level up as fast as I can so I can unlock better stuff. I can make saddles and things like that for pals down the line. So yeah, I just want to try and get there as quick as possible. So that was a fun one to catch. That one's called Daydream. As I was running back to base, I saw my depression run past, and I thought I would beat it with a stick. There's a sentence I never ever thought I would say. But yeah, this guy called Depresso, and yeah, I did what any person would do with depression. I put it in a ball and locked it away, never to be spoke of ever again. Quick side note, that is terrible advice, don't actually do that. Please reach out to people, you are loved. It was back to the base, and I got a cat to help me build a bow. Again, there's going to be things in this game that I just say that I never thought I'd say in my life. That's at least the 5th time that's happened, but thank you to that cat for helping me to make a bow, and after that we were off to try and fight some monkeys, because I figured these guys would be able to help in the base in some way, shape or form, but these guys were a lot tougher than I expected them to be, and yeah, I was kind of struggling a little bit here. Two little monkeys were kicking my backside while I was trying to fight them, so as you can see I'm trying to run away because I'm fairly certain that I might die. I've yet to die in the playthrough, and I want to sort of stay alive as possible as long as I can, so yeah, we ran away from those guys. Unfortunately though, they did keep following me, and even when I'm trying to take care of this elephant, I can see them in the distance trying to catch up on me, so I'm going to have to fight them at some point. But we did just catch a new Pokemon. See, I've said it already, Pokemon. After that though, we are off to unlock another fast travel, and we've came across a cave, and yeah, I don't know if I'm ready for caves yet, but we're certainly going to give it a try and experience what is in there. It says to ideally be level 13, I think we're maybe level 9. We'll see how tough it is. Immediately though, we came across some of the Syndicate thugs. Now these are some of the human enemies in this particular game. There's a few different factions from what I understand. These are the main ones that I've came across so far. I think the other factions that you can come across are a little bit further into the game, the higher level you get. But yeah, we figured we would just beat them up. Fun fact, you can catch these guys in Palworld. And yeah, it just didn't seem right to me, so I figured I won't do that. But if we ever do a completionist run of this game and they have to be a part of that, then I guess we will cross that bridge when we come to it. But for the time being, this is just me running through trying to find some different pals. These fuddlers are ones that are mainly in caves. I don't know if they spawn anywhere else, but I figured these guys would be good for mining. He looks like he has some good claws on him, so I wanted to see if we could catch a couple so we can actually get them back to base and help them out, help us out at the base to mine some stuff. Hit that one a little too hard. That happens a lot. From then on though, we made our way to the end of the cave, and we came across what will be our first boss, which is an absolute giant chicken. And yeah, I figured the chickens weren't too tough. I've fought these a bunch of times up in the regular world outside of the caves. Didn't notice just how big of a health bar that guy had though, and my health is already getting tanked pretty much. So yeah, I was in a bit of trouble, and I was about to fight 4 chickens, and yeah, well, you'll see how this plays out. Killed by a chicken. First death of the video, folks. After that abysmal performance, shall we call it, I went back to get our supplies. Thankfully the supplies had been left outside of the cave, so we didn't have to go back in, and then we headed back to base and started out making one of these statues, which is the ones I was telling you about earlier, where you can use these to increase your capture power. On day 4, I followed a noise that sounded very interesting to me, and it brought me to a shiny pal. Now this chicken was much like the chicken in the cave that just killed me, although it's a lot lower level, and yeah, I figured I would try and capture it, and after beating it down a little bit, I finally managed to get it into a pal ball, and we got our very first lucky pal. So yeah, I'm happy with that. After that though, on the way back to base, I came across the strongest Cativa I've ever seen. He is literally holding an elephant above his head. Back at base, I was going about building up the pal gear workbench so that we can kind of upgrade our base area. It allows us to put more pals into the base at work, so we got up to level 6. And then after that, I was going ahead and making some more workbenches just so I can start making better tools. I then saw 2 chicken in the water, and I knew that I only needed to capture 1 more to complete the set for the 10 chickadees that I needed to catch for the XP bonus. So I went ahead and rescued this one from certainly drowning, and yeah, managed to put him as part of our team. So that's the first complete set that we've got. After that, it was off to make ourselves a metal pickaxe so we could be more efficient, and then we finally used our very first Liftmonk effigy to enhance our capture ability. And yeah, later in the night we came across 2 tansies. I ran from the last 2. They don't seem as tough when they're asleep, so I figured I would take the coward's way out and fight them while they were passed out. One guy didn't even wake up while I was beating up his friend, so they can't be too much very close or anything like that. But I managed to capture 1. Figured I'd go for the second one as well. And yeah, this was the coward's way of capturing them. But you gotta do what you gotta do in the early game, you know. I'm not very tough yet. I came across a group of burly mercenaries, and to be honest, these are the first people I've came across in this game that haven't tried to kill me, so I just kind of went about my day. I then went on to try and capture some more of these elephant guys, but yeah, this first one I hit him a little bit too hard. I am starting to get a bit stronger now, and yeah, maybe I need to check what my strength is before I start beating on an elephant with a baseball bat. Again, another sentence I've never thought I'd say in my life. But here we are trying to capture his buddy. He was clearly upset that I killed his friend. I can't blame him, but it didn't take too long to convince him to join my team. Further down the road though, we came across our second lucky pal, and this one is a lift monk, so I thought this one would be very beneficial to add to the team. And yeah, his buddy wasn't too happy about me hitting his friend, but I was just trying to capture him, and eventually he ran to sort of a cliff edge. I figured he wouldn't run any further, so I'd take a bit of time, break him down, because he was only a 27% catch rate, and then I accidentally yeeted him across the map, and yeah, sorry dude. The next day was all about base upgrades, so I started off by making ourselves a lumbering yard. That was one of the things we needed to do for the next level. After that we worked on getting ourselves a quarry so we can gather a lot of wood and stone just at the base now. And then after that we made ourselves a grinder. This is going to take us up to level 7 for the base, I believe, which means we can deploy more pals. And as you can see, we're already almost at the next level, so we spent the rest of the day gathering materials ready to craft the hot spring, and by the end of the day we managed to get our base up to level 8. So at this point we have 8 pals that we're ready to deploy in the base. The base is really starting to look after itself in terms of a lot of supplies, so we're making some really good progress early on. After that though, the next day we woke up to make ourselves some mega spheres, which is the upgraded version of the spheres that we've been using, and we got our Kativa to help us to speed up the process. We then headed out to try and capture some more pals. I've already caught quite a few foxparks, and I'm only a couple away from getting to the 10 complete set. So these were the last couple of guys that I needed. These guys come in very handy. You may have seen I had a forge back at the base. One of them was smelting down the ore that we were gathering. And these guys are also really good for taking out and about and fighting certain pals as well to weaken them up a little bit. So yeah, that was this completion of another set. After that though, we came across something that is called a we came across a deer, and he looked pretty cool, so I wanted to catch him, and we managed to get him word down pretty quick as well. So now we have a brand new guy who I think is going to come in handy for gathering a lot of wood back at the base. Later that night we came across another lift punk, and this one didn't go flying off the edge of the cliff. We managed to keep him there just enough time to catch him, and that is another set complete. Back at the base the next day, we are making ourselves a crossbow. The wooden bow has come in handy, but it's time to upgrade now we've got enough metal, and this thing is going to give us a lot more firepower and make us a lot more powerful. So we then went off to chase down a penguin that I wanted to beat up with a baseball bat so that I could capture him in a ball and make him our friend. And I believe this is going to be another one that is going to complete a set. I'm on a bit of a completionist sort of run at the moment with some of these early level pals. Just want to get as many as possible. As I say, the main reason being to level up. And yeah, these guys are definitely helping out with that. It is about time that we got in the air though, so I came across these Nightwings, and I figured this would be a good way to explore the map. I do want to do a good bit of exploring in this world. It looks like quite a big world, and I think this is maybe the first type of bird you can fly. Don't quote me on that, I'm not 100% certain, but this is me trying to capture one, and it's definitely going to be the first one that we'll have. I don't even know if I'm a high enough level to make a saddle for it yet, but it's definitely something I want to be looking for, and this is our first successful Nightwing capture. After that though, it wasn't too long before we came across a little camp, and some syndicate thugs were keeping a pal capped in a cage. Now this guy, they didn't look the smartest. He was running into his own spikes. I'm going to use that to my advantage and shoot him in the back of the head, and then we're going to go ahead and free this guy who is a Sparkit. It's the first one of those we've caught, but this is the thing that we do quite often throughout the playthrough. After that though, we came across these rush boars. Now these guys, they look pretty tough, and they are pretty tough, but they do take a little while to charge of their attack, so thankfully I've managed to get out of the way just in time and capture a few of these guys. Now these guys are going to come in handy, I believe, for back at the base. I think they can be used on the rock quarry, so we can gather some rocks using these guys. And also there's going to be a few of them that we can take with us when we're out and about fighting tougher pals, which, as I say, they do look a little bit formidable, so I think they're going to come in very handy as part of our squad. Wasn't too long before we came across our very first settlement, and the first guy that I came to in this village was someone who was selling a bunch of stuff, and he didn't really have anything I wanted to buy. I'm not going to spend money on pal spheres and berries and things like that because it's something that I can get pretty easily, but if I do have things that I want to sell, then I can come here and sell them to him. We haven't got a whole lot of gold right now, but we came across this other guy who will buy and sell pals from you. Now, I don't know really the benefit of keeping all of the pals at this point, so part of me just wants to sell off the ones that I'm not going to use because just look how many I've got. So that's something that I do throughout the playthrough. I'll leave it up to you to tell me whether you think that was a good idea or not. It didn't really affect me too much because eventually a bit further down we can use the money for something more productive in my opinion. These guys were just going to be sat in a box anyway, so yeah, I wasn't too bothered about selling them. And I'd never seen a gobfin before or a loot moon, so I was tempted to buy a couple of these guys. And yeah, we'll leave that for now, but maybe we'll come back later. There was a cave at the end of the village though, so I went inside because I know there was a lot more Palsphere fragments in here. The Paldean fragments are a lot more dense in here. You normally can only find little piles of 5 out and about outside. These guys, they have piles of 40, so I figured I'd come in and get as many as I could. And of course, capture whatever new pals that I could come across while I was in here. The first one being a calamari, or Killamari. We then came across these cats, and it looked pretty cool to be honest. I mainly just wanted to catch it because it looked pretty cool, but I didn't realise once I got back to base just how useful these guys would be through the entire playthrough. So we haven't quite got there yet, but these guys will be able to find us a good bit of money, which is going to come in handy for the rest of the video. Got to the end room and I came across this chest, managed to get some bread, some coins and a copper key, and then there wasn't really a way I could find a boss in there, so I just left. Next thing I came across was another fast travel area, and this was sort of a church area that had one of these statues out in the wild. Obviously we've got one back at base, but it's good to know they're out and about if we ever do come across these Liftmonk effigies and I haven't got time to head back to base. We started the next day by crafting a saddle for our Nightwing. This is the first bird that we've managed to get through this playthrough, and yeah, the first time we're going to be actually able to take to the skies and do a bit more exploring. Now this is going to be something I do quite a lot through this playthrough. Sometimes it's fun just to get out and explore the world that you're in, and it's so much easier doing that on a bird. Now, we came across our very first, I guess you would call it a boss of the world. They seem to have a health bar, I guess that's what it is. And this one is Chillit. He is apparently the dancer on the plains, which is quite an interesting nickname. I like that. But as you can see, we managed to take some pretty decent amount of health at him really quickly. And maybe I'm a lot stronger than I thought I was. I was still a bit nervous about fighting some of these bigger guys earlier on because I wasn't too sure how strong we would be, especially after the whole chicken fiasco. But thankfully we managed to catch this guy pretty quickly, and I think this is the now most powerful one that we have in our team, so I was very happy about that. It's our first boss kill, and yeah, very, very happy about that. After that though, it was off to try and gather some more pals to get the 10 capture for each particular pal that we're trying to go for. At the moment going for a Cremis, as you can see there, and we managed to take this one down and get us up to 10. After that, we went back to base and we set aside making some egg incubators. We now have the materials we need thanks to the boss fight, and we put a few eggs in ready to hatch. These aren't going to take very long at all. Then it was off for a bit of nighttime exploring. I figured it would be a lot easier using Nightwing in the dark. As you can see in the background, there's already a few things that are lighting up, and I figured this would be a good way to explore the world, see what kind of things we can collect, come across some chests and things like that, as well as trying to capture some pals that either come out late at night or are a bit easier to take down at night. And we came across this dire howl. He was giving us a bit of trouble here for a little while, but eventually we managed to successfully capture him. And yeah, that's the first time we've got one of those. And we've also got a level up as well. We're doing alright. I think we're up to level 22 already. The next day though, we are continuing trying to capture some pals. This time we are going for a Floppy, or is it Floppy? Is it Floppy? I don't know. I'll let you decide that in the chat. It seems like a Floppy to me. It feels like the safe way to call it anyway. Back at base, it was time to hatch our first eggs, and we got ourselves a Daydream from the Dark Egg, and from the Rocky Egg, the one that we managed to hatch this time was a Doomud. Now that's a brand new one to us, so yeah, pretty happy about that. We then started crafting ourselves a ranch, which is the next part that we need to upgrade the base, and then we went ahead inside and hatched another egg. This time we got ourselves a Swee, another new pal captured. After that though, it was time to explore some caves again, and we came across this one that had a jolt hog at the end. Now I think ideally I would prefer to catch all of them because I'm going to be trying to get that XP boost that I mentioned, although really I'm only after the big one. I do kind of want to have a big pal like that back at base. I think it would be pretty cool to have one of those. But yeah, we're definitely going to try and capture them all if we can, and we had a pretty successful attempt at it. We managed to catch the first one pretty straightforward, while Chillet took care of the boss while we went for the second one. After that, it was just a case of working on Jolt Hog till we got him low enough down, and then we were able to capture this one as well. So yeah, pretty successful trip to the caves. Back at base, we hatched our first large egg, and it was a tombat, and from the verdant egg we got ourselves another Florpy. We obviously are trying to get 10 of every one, so these eggs are going to come in very handy for the ones that are a bit more difficult to come across. Then we made ourselves some improvement on our armour. We got some metal armour instead of the cloth one that we've been wearing. I really like the way the armour looks in this game. I think it's really cool, and the metal one is no different. I really like the look of that. We finished the day by hatching some more eggs. We got a serpent from a damp egg, which also gave us a level up. And from this common egg, we got ourselves a Toko Toko. So yeah, that was fun. Day 13 started out with a pretty epic battle for us at this stage. I was trying to get us some high level pals because I want to try and take on one of the Rain Syndicate Tower bosses pretty soon, because that's what I've been asked to do as part of the tutorial, so I figured there must be one that we can take on pretty early on. And we came across this Robin Quill and a Cinnamoth. Now the Robin Quill was the main one I was after. It was shown as a level 24. However, the Cinnamoth would be a good catch for us at this point as well, so I'm trying to get them both. Eventually managed to take down the Robin Quill with some help from our level 20 Foxparks, but the Cinnamoth was giving us a little bit of trouble. Didn't take too much longer though to wear it down. It managed to get a couple of hits on it and then get it with one of the greater spheres, and we managed to catch that one too. Back at base, and we were collecting some of the loot that we were getting from the ranch. As you can see here, we've got a bit of wool and some coins. Apparently the cats in this game will dig up coins for you, so I figured I'd put a few of those in there. It would help me get some money. But now it's time to take on our very first boss of this entire playthrough, so sit back and enjoy how this went. So yeah, first boss battle went pretty well. I wasn't sure if I was able to capture these guys or not at this point, hence the reason I tried to throw a ball at it. Obviously, turns out you can't do that, which I guess makes perfect sense. But yeah, we managed to take down the first boss. Back at base though, we had a couple more eggs that we needed hatching. Got ourselves a Gale Claw from one of them, and then it was off to the trader to trade in some more of these pals. Again, I'm not sure if this is something that you're supposed to do. It's something I want to do, to be honest. I feel like I could use the money to buy stuff that I don't come across very often, such as this Loot Moon, and also put the money towards supplies. We're not stopping there though, because we've got another boss fight that we need to do. This time we're heading in to take on a Bushi, and yeah, this guy I figured would be a really good addition to our team, so I took in Robin Quill and my regular team here to try and take this guy down too. And yeah, these little arenas where you get to fight these mini bosses, I guess, these are quite a fun aspect of the game, and I really enjoyed going to take on these guys. So yeah, let's see how this one goes. Yeah, that guy's pretty quick. That little jump forward that he does, that was the thing that was catching me out a few times. So you know what, forget it. I'm just going to go to bed. We'll try again tomorrow. After that though, when I headed back to go and try again, I came across this particular guy who was giving me some trouble, as well as some syndicate thugs in the background. But my main interest right now was to try and take down this van worm. I figured he'd be a pretty cool guy to have to fly around on, but yeah, these syndicate thugs were also giving me a bit of bother. Made sure I managed to capture him though, and then we took care of the syndicate thugs not long after that. Back at base, we managed to hatch our very first Dazzy from an electric egg, so we're really starting to ramp up how many pals we're catching, and this one you can have a necklace with it. Now I wasn't too sure what this meant at the time, but what it turns out you can do is you can have that pal out with you and follow you around, while also having another pal out, so technically you can use two at once, because ordinarily you would only be able to use one, so this was a pretty good thing. We then used Dazzy to go back into a Bushi fight, and this time we were a little bit more successful when it came to taking on Bushi. Back at base, we made ourselves a van worm saddle, and we've now upgraded our flyer, so we're going to be flying around on the back of a dragon now. Now that I am very excited about. Day 17, we're back in the caves, and we've made our way to the end, where the boss in this cave is a Mao. Now as you can see, whenever a boss spawns, there is smaller variants of that particular creature in here too. Now these Maos I can put back at the farm, they will get me much money from the ranch, and I love money, so I want to try and get as much as I possibly can, because I figured at some point I'm going to be able to use that stuff to buy ammo and things like that. On the way home though, we came across two of these mama rests that were having a bit of a fight, so I figured I'd stick around and see who won, see if I can maybe at least get some supplies, maybe try and capture one myself. And yeah, I've noticed a few times throughout this playthrough that these guys tend to get into a fight with each other. I don't know if this is a common thing or maybe I've just got a bit lucky, I'm not too sure, but either way, it's definitely something to stand back and sort of take advantage of, you know, because I'm not at a level right now where I can take on a mama rest, and thankfully this guy did it for me, so I'm very happy about how that played out. Flying back home, we came across a Bronx, which is another one that's kind of like one of these wild bosses that's out there. This guy looked like he was just about to head to sleep, so I figured what better time than to try and fight him. And this fight pretty much went through the night. It took a little while to break this guy down. As you can see, it's quite strong, and being out in the open made it a bit more difficult. But yeah, didn't take too long, thankfully. We managed to get ourselves another boss, so I'm very happy with the progress we're making so far. Back at base, so it's time to hatch some more eggs. We got ourselves a flambell from the very first one. So yeah, we're doing some good progress with the eggs too. As always though in these games, there's a lot of grinding that needs to be done, and I need to get metal so that I can make better supplies, and that's essentially what a big part of this game is going to be for me. So there'll be many times when you see me running backwards and forwards doing some grinding. The next step in terms of upgrading the base itself was to get a cooler box on the go. It took a minute to figure out how this works. I thought it would just be immediately a fridge, but it turns out you're going to need a pal to cool it, which makes sense. So I was just chucking all the food that I had in there, hoping that it would be fine, but yeah, some of it did end up spoiling. The next thing I wanted to make as part of our base was this PAL Essence Condenser, and it was at this point that I realised that maybe I shouldn't have been selling off the PALs that I have been. I could have been using them to condense into a better variation of the version of it that I would like to keep, which ultimately would make them stronger and better for boss fights and things like that. Now this is something I will take advantage of a bit later on. I wasn't too concerned about it at the beginning because, as I say, I was focusing on maybe selling and getting some money to help out my particular needs at the time, but yeah, maybe that's something we can do later. After that though, it was straight into another boss battle, and this time we were going to be taking on a Pen King, and yeah, we're pretty high level for this boss fight at the time. This one's only a level 15, I think we're a level 24 25 at the time, so it didn't take us too long to take him down. So yeah, this was a relatively straightforward one for this stage in the game. Managed to capture him pretty easily with the help of Mama Rest, and then it was back to base because I wanted to build ourselves a breeding farm. Now, I'd been doing a bit of reading around this time to see what would be a good thing to get to breed, and I did have an idea with the Pen King, but we'll see how that plays out. Later that night though, it was time to hatch some eggs. We had a Grintail from one egg and a Hangyu from another. Two new pals that we also didn't have. Day 20 started out by crafting some cold resistant pelt armour and then doing something that is a typical J move and going somewhere where I'll not need it, to the foot of a volcano, which is just exactly the type of thing that I would do. I'm not sure why I even made it as of yet. However, while we were out exploring, we came across this huge dragon egg. Now this says it was a pretty rare find, so I'm happy with that. I'm hoping to get something cool from it. Spoiler alert, it was okay. We spent the rest of the day exploring and then we headed back home, and this is what I was talking about with the cats on the ranch. Just from a quick run around the little bit here, just from today, we managed to get nearly 500 coins, so that seems to be a good way for me to get a bit of money. This huge dragon egg was going to take 2 hours to hatch, so I then set that off and then went about to do some more exploring, as well as building our very first sphere assembly line. Now it said this thing was going to take around about 5 minutes to make, just by making it on my own, but obviously the benefit of having the pals around is they do tend to speed up the process, so it didn't take too long until this was actually ready to use. After that though, we are back out exploring once again, and we came across one of these syndicate strongholds, I think that's what you would call it, and we used Rob and Quill to take these guys out pretty quickly. As you can see, that attack that he's just done there has a big massive range of damage there, and anything in the middle is just going to get wiped out pretty quickly. And we came across the pal that had been captured in this one, and it was an Arsox, which we hadn't really caught before, so that's another one to add to the collection. We're already putting a pretty good dent in the ones that we're catching, and yeah, we're doing pretty well. After that though, it is back to the base, and we need to actually be able to power the assembly line that we crafted earlier on, so we put this power generator down ready for one of the pals to be able to use. We then hatched the large egg that we got earlier on, which gave us our very first Catris, and yeah, we're doing pretty well in terms of capturing pals, as I mentioned. I feel like we're making a lot of good progress with the amount we're trying to catch so far. Day 23 started out by making ourselves a hip lantern. This automatically attaches to your character there so you can see a little bit better at night. And yeah, it's going to make things a little bit simpler. And then we came across the very first problem that I had during recording. Obviously I didn't notice this at the time until after I finished, but I've left this clip in so you can see what I mean. I've never had footage corrupt on me before, and this is the first time it happened. I came across this King Packer, I decided to try and fight it, and well, you'll see what happens with this clip. It'll get to a certain point that we don't have any more footage to show you, and yeah, I'm not sure what happened with the footage. We did manage to take it down, we didn't capture it, I don't think, but yeah, that was a bit of an interesting one. After that, we went over to find a base that we could get some metal from, and I came across this spot, and I would be coming back here periodically to try and get as much metal as I could, because I figured it'd be a good fast travel point to go back and forth between. And that's pretty much what we spent the rest of the day doing. I set it up with a bit of pals over here so they can try and work when I'm not here. And then we set some furnaces up so that the new Arsox that we just got can actually go ahead and smelt some of the metal. And we spent the rest of the day here just grinding up as much materials as we could. And yeah, hopefully we don't get no more corruptions, because I don't like missing out battles like that. Day 25 starts by hitting a sheep as hard as I possibly can in the face with a baseball bat, and then throwing a ball at it. Doing that twice actually. I realised going through my pal list that these were ones that at the very top of the list, which is the first number on the list, I didn't have 10 on, so I figured I would go through and try and catch a few of these. As you can see, these first few I've got 10. My goal is to work my way all through them. Whether we get this done in this video or not, I guess time will tell. Anyway, after that it was back to the base, and we came across our raid. And yeah, we had a bunch of syndicate raiders trying to raid the base. As you can see, I don't really have any defences. I didn't really know raids were a thing, really, to be honest. I'd had maybe one or two before, so I never really thought too worry about it too much, about putting up walls and things like that. Plus I figured the pals here would help me out. And yeah, well, I guess I kind of figured wrong, because it did take them a minute to even get involved. There's a giant bronze cherry behind there that has no interest whatsoever in getting involved. I don't know if that's because he was in the breeding pen or whatnot, but it did take a minute for our team to actually start helping me out. Thankfully though, they are just regular syndicate raiders, and they weren't too difficult to take down. It was now finally time to hatch that huge dragon egg that we got the other day, and when it hatched, it was a Relaxaurus, which, while it's a new pal for us, I can't help but feel a little bit disappointed, because I had seen them out and about while I was flying around, so I was hoping it would be something really rare, but I'm still happy, it's still a new pal that we don't have. After that though, it was back to trying to take care of our depression. This one is the 8th one out of 10 that we've managed to take down, so yeah, we're definitely getting there. Next up on the docket was to make ourselves a production assembly line. I want to try and get myself a gun and some ammo and things like that going pretty soon, and of course straight away we started off with the handgun. Now I believe there was a better weapon that I could have made earlier on. It was like a rifle. I figured the handgun would come in more handy for my style of play, and maybe we'll get that a bit later. The verdant egg was the next thing to hatch, which gave us a Cinemoth. As you can see, it's the second one we've got because we did try and catch one in the wild the other day. And then after that, we got a Lunaris, which was an incredible capture for us because they're going to be very useful around the base, and it was our very first one that we came across. Out exploring the next day, we came across this guy who's apparently a cowardly victim. He's he's a little bit scared being out here. I don't blame him. If you're not built for this world, the pals are a bit dangerous. But yeah, he gave us some Paldean fragments. And then I came across another trader. These guys I've never seen before. The one I normally go to is in a little village. So I had a quick look to see if he had anything interesting, and unfortunately he didn't. One of the benefits though of having these vanworms and just other sort of flyers is that you can basically take down pals like this. You just fly up behind them and capture whatever it is you need. That one being the 10th one that we needed for Ruby to have another one complete. Myself and Robin Quill then went out to take on a Grintail, which was another one of the wild bosses that was in the area. He's only a level 17, so it should be pretty straightforward. And yeah, I let Robin Quill do most of the work. I just wanted to test out how my handgun was. It doesn't do the most amount of damage, but to be honest, it's still going to come in handy in a pinch, especially for when I'm taking on the smaller pals that give me a bit more issues when trying to capture them. I was hoping to capture this guy, but Robin Quill's a little bit too strong, but I'll definitely take the Palworld and Ancient Civilization parts for the defeat. This fight, however, this one I have no idea what happened. So we went to take on this Massander Lux. I got its attention a little bit by taking a couple of shots at it and then brought out Mamarest to take out most of the damage. This fight did go on quite a while because he's a level 31, so he's a bit more tougher. He did start to chase me at one point and I panicked, span into a wall, pressed the wrong button and somehow threw a Pal Sphere at him, and to my absolute surprise managed to catch him. So yeah, that's one way of dealing with it, I guess. I just kind of stood there for a second because I didn't really know what happened. On day 28, I'm over at the second base and I'd noticed a bit of an issue. Whenever I'm not here, because of where I've placed the box on top, when I come back to the world, the pals are stood up here and they can't make their way down. So I built a little platform and stood around to see if it actually worked. Thankfully, it did. Back at the main base, we used Lunaris to help us craft some equipment on the production line here. And as you can see, they're a massive help. I think their production skills or things like that are higher than some of the other pals I have, so they definitely come in handy to have around the base because it does speed up production quite a bit. I thought I'd give you a quick insight though into how the breeding works in this game if you're not too familiar. Essentially you have to make a cake and then you feed it to the two pals that you put in here. You can put any two pals in that you like and then they will eventually breed you something. Now at the time of recording the game was still pretty new, so there wasn't a whole lot of guides online, but I'd read that if you put a Pen King and a Ruby in there then you could hatch yourself an Anubis. This never worked for me, but I did practice this quite a lot, and yeah, you may see in the background a lot of times those are the two that I have in there. I was trying my hardest to get one, it never worked for me that way. After that though, it's back to upgrading the base a little bit, which we've now managed to get up to level 14 because we'd already did the level 13 step without realising it. Continued working on that though by upgrading the hot spring that we had, so we've put a second hot spring in the base. And yeah, here's the first egg that we got from Pen King and Ruby. It is a large scorching egg, so I didn't really know at the time what kind of Pal Anubis was. But yeah, I thought it was pretty good. It said it was a large egg, so I figured it would be a good hatch. After that though, it is back to grinding materials. This is just a regular part of the playthrough. I need to get a lot of metal. This is pretty much the part of every kind of game like this. I kind of enjoy the grind, to be honest. I know some people aren't a big fan of it. This is something maybe we could get back into doing on stream, because I do want to get back to streaming at some point. So yeah, if you want to join me for some streams, let me know in the comments, and maybe we can start that back up again soon. Day 31 starts us off with a boss fight and we are taking on Catris. Now, we did hatch one of these earlier on, so we do already have a Catris back at home. However, as I mentioned, I do want to try and take down all of the world bosses if I can, either in this video or a future one. If we maybe do 200 days, that might be a possibility if people are interested. I'm definitely open to it because I'm really enjoying playing this game. And yeah, Catris wasn't too difficult to take down, thankfully. It was a bit stubborn to get into a Pal Sphere every now and again, and I was trying to just chip away at its health. As you can see, it's down to 56 there. I didn't want to hit it too hard because obviously you didn't want to kill it. But yeah, I figured if I could just be a bit more sort of patient with it, use a crossbow shot to get it down to 32, and then after that it was just spending a bit of time trying to wait for it to get into the Pal Sphere. We finally managed to take it down though, and that's our second Catris that we now have. I spent most of the rest of the time though just flying around trying to get as many eggs as I could. I needed to also get some sulfur while I was over here at the volcano, but as you can see, these eggs were just everywhere. Now I don't know if this is just a feature of the game or if I just got really lucky, but the amount of eggs I find in just this run alone was pretty incredible. After that though, as I mentioned, we did go and get some sulfur because we are going to need to make some gunpowder at some point and try and get some more ammo for when we do come across the bigger bosses. We hatched our first Sibilix from a large frozen egg, and yeah, I'm pretty happy with how the egg hatching is going. It's definitely making a dent in that pal catching them all sort of thing that we're doing. And back at base, we then came across another raid. This one was a little different though. I'd never came across these guys before, and to be honest, I was not prepared for them whatsoever. So, stand back and watch me get beat up by a bunch of rabbits in my own base. So yeah, that was a little embarrassing. Eventually though, we did manage to wear them down, and I spent a bit of time trying to catch one because I figured if these guys are tough enough to beat me, then they're probably a good idea to have in the squad as well, and we finally caught our first Lavender. The next day though, we are putting our pals to work and getting some Megaspheres because we have got some leveling up to do. So I managed to get myself 65 Megaspheres before heading out to try and catch some more pals. We did hatch a Kitsune, which was the egg that we got from putting the Pen King and the Robbie together. And yeah, I figured this guy's pretty cool, so I'll leave them in there for now. I still at this point haven't really understood that you can get that particular one from them every time. I thought I would maybe get something different. And yeah, that's just how it works out. I also made myself a farming hat because I thought it looked pretty cool and it went well with my outfit. Next boss fight on the list is a Petalia. This one is a grass type pal. Now, I've still got a few flame type ones in my group. As you can see, I've got Bushi there as part of the actual lineup. But Mamarest is still my toughest guy. So I put Mamarest in there initially before Bushi decided to go in and tidy a few things up. Now, this one was going to be a little tougher than a few of the others that I've fought so far. I am higher than level 28, but as you can see, this one was quite a tough pal to fight. I'm still not too experienced in these types of games in terms of like combat like this, so it took me a minute just to get used to it myself, and as well because it's a brand new game and I've never played it before, I'm not still the best at sort of mouse and keyboard games. I'm still figuring that out, but we did manage to take down Petalia and I'm pretty happy with the progress we've made. Next morning we woke up and just kind of stood there for a little while. Probably had a text or a phone call off my mother. Never ignore your phone if your mother calls. After that, it was time to condense a few pals, and I figured I would get these ruby guys that I've got and try and condense them in an effort to make the one that I'm breeding a bit stronger. Again, this is just the way my logic worked in my brain. I don't think this is an actual thing, but it was still the first time we used it and condensed this one to make him a little bit stronger. I think the next time you do it, you need to use 16 of them, so it's going to take quite a long time to get something to very top level, so maybe that's something we can look at doing later on. We were then back to doing a bit more cake making. This thing tends to take a while. I tend to just leave the pal to do it on its own, but when it was getting towards the end, I figured I would get involved. And this time I tried using the Kitsune that we hatched and the Pen King just to see if we'd get something a little bit different. And yeah, well, it got something different, alright, but it's still not what I'm after. It just gave us an electric egg this time, which I'm not entirely sure what I will get from. We made another egg incubator though because it's getting to the point where we're getting so many eggs and they're taking a long time to hatch, so we need to make as many of these as I could. After that it was back to making the next assembly line, which is going to be the one for weapons, and that's actually going to improve our base as well, taking us up to level 15. Back at base the next day we are making some more cake. Told you, it becomes a thing. I'm doing this, I'm doing grinding, there's a lot of stuff going on. And yeah, we're heading on over to the little breeding ground that we've got. We've put Ruby back in this time with Pen King because I got the electric egg. I figured maybe if I go back to the original setup, I'll get what I'm after. Again, it's going to take me a minute to figure out that that's not how this works. We did go and get a Pyron knocked though from a large egg, which I was very happy about because this guy looks really cool, so I immediately put him into base just so I could show him off and see what he looks like. Day 34 started out by making a heater because I thought it might improve the hatch rate of the eggs. However, while making this, we then did become under attack from another raid. Now, I was having a few problems with the bell that we've got that changes the work rate from either to focus on work or to focus on attacking. I think it was just a case of I was using it wrong. Thankfully this time we got really lucky and these pal guys that turned up all kind of got stuck in the hot tub, all save for one or two, so we took them out pretty quickly. And yeah, I was still trying to figure out how this bell works. I think it was me using it wrong. After that though, we set out to do some more exploring. It is fastly becoming my favourite thing to do in this game, just because the world is so vast. I wasn't expecting the world to be quite as big as it was, and I was mainly out looking for eggs and just exploring new lands and seeing what fast travel points we could unlock, see what's out there in the world. So as you can see, we're currently around the volcano area. After that point, we came to where there was a bit of a sort of a castle, and I'd found a few more eggs around this region, as well as a couple of other pals that I hadn't came across yet. And yeah, just unlocking more fast travel points. The more of the map that's going to be available to us, the better it's going to be when it comes to just sort of teleporting around, dealing with boss fights and all that sort of stuff. And yeah, we're starting to unlock quite a lot of the map. Still looking into getting eggs the next day, and you can see just how many we've got just from this trip alone. We've got so many eggs, we're going to need to make some more incubators when we get back to base, so that's going to be something I need to focus on. So of course we need to work on actually getting some materials, which, as I've said thousands of times in this game, is going to be a big part of the playthrough. We then went out and explored in the frozen biomes, and we came across some Mao crysts, which up until this point I'd only really seen inside of caves, and I made my way to the very top of the mountain and found ourselves a huge frozen egg. So I'm hoping we get something really cool from that one. That must be the tree they were on about at the start of the game. I was punching the wrong tree. Okay, that makes a lot more sense. Back at base though, it is time to get those egg incubators going. I've got enough materials to make a few because we're getting so many eggs now, and if I'm going to try and get 10 of every pal, this is going to be a big step to being able to do that. So as you can see, we're currently putting down at least 7, potentially a few more, and then just setting off as many eggs as we can, this time going for a frozen round. And yeah, the huge one is only going to take an hour, thankfully. It seems to be comfortable. As you can see on some of them, it has the incubation temperatures. That's what I was trying to work with within the base. We then hatched ourselves a Ragnarhawk from this egg, which is the first one we've had for a while, and then we've got a few frozen eggs to hatch, getting ourselves a Raindrix from the first one, again another new pal that we've captured, and then yeah, we've got a few more that we need to work our way through as well. This one we got another Raindrix, so yeah, we're starting to get a few repetitive ones, but as you know, we need to get 10 of each. After that though, it is back to fighting bosses, and this level 17 Azarobe looked like a good one that we could take down pretty easily, I would have thought, because it's like, say, level 17, we're pretty high level at this point. At least at this stage of the game, I feel like we're doing pretty well in terms of leveling up. So yeah, this one wasn't too difficult. I was switching out between different pals because I'm trying to figure out still which is the best route. Now I know you can just go into sort of the journal and it'll tell you which is the best elements against some, which is definitely helpful, but I just like to sort of mix it up and see what they can do in real time, and yeah, we managed to capture this Azarobe. That's another one ticked off the list. After that though, it is back out trying to capture as many pals as possible, and this was a Mozzarina which we came across. I think we've already got a few cows back at base, but I think I'm trying to get number 10 at this point. And yeah, just want to try and get as many of these guys as possible, so that can help us level up. As you'll see, each time that we get them, we get a lot of XP each time, and yeah, it really helps us out. We then managed to hatch ourselves some Mao crysts that we came across in the mountains. I can only assume that these were their eggs that I found, because we did end up getting a few of them. These guys are going to be useful to have around the base, especially within the farming area, because I believe that they will dig up some stuff for us like the other ones do coins. I'm not sure if these guys do coins or not, but they're definitely going to come in handy around the base. Next time we are getting some more hatching on the go. We've got a Vanworm cryst this time from a large frozen egg. That is a new one for us. And then immediately after that we get a second one. As I say, a lot of these eggs are going to be repetitive, but these are the ones that I haven't really came across too much in the wild, so I'm going to never complain about that. We then got ourselves a Wumpo, which I was very happy about, another one that we've never had before, and then immediately followed by a second one. Day 38 was mostly spent around base just crafting ammo ready for our next big adventure. We started off by getting as many arrows as we could, followed up by getting some more handgun ammo on the go ready for the next few bosses that we want to fight, and just generally being a bit more prepared while we're out in the wild. Followed by the next day we take on a level 31 Univault. Now this one was going to be a pretty tough one for us, but I figured we've got a decent squad, so we should be alright to take it out. But yeah, this one took quite a while. I mainly just sat back and let our guys do most of the work, chipping in as and when I could, and kind of taking the heat a little bit in terms of whenever the attacks were coming from Univault. I was getting in the mix sometimes when I had my shield up. And yeah, I'm still trying to figure that out when the enemies do their attacks. When best to pull my guys back. It's a big learning curve for me, but it has been quite fun to try and figure that out, and yeah, we managed to catch him in the end. Back at base though, it is time for another hatching session. This time we get a Mammorest cryst, which is the I guess frozen version of the Mammorest that we already had, so that's another one that we're pretty happy about. After that we headed on out to the desert, and we'd seen that the trader here was selling a few of the pals that we hadn't came across yet. Now as you can see, I've got 66,000, so I was quite happy to buy one just to sort of get underway. I didn't know if this was a smart idea or not, but as I say, it's all learning, so I'll figure it out as I go. Further on in the desert though, we came across a cave, and inside here was a level 50 black marketeer. Now this guy said he would buy and sell anything, fairly certain he was talking about buying and selling the human pals that I could sell to him, but I haven't captured one yet, so we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. But yeah, had a few things from this guy too. And then back at base to get a couple more hatches undergo, we got ourselves an Incineram, and then we got ourselves a Sparkit, followed up finally by a Dark Egg, and from the Dark Egg we got ourselves a Cognito. Day 41 started out by making ourselves an improved furnace. This was another step we needed to increase the base level, and we're now up to level 16. After that though, it was time to go on a bit of a completionist run. I've been working my way through the list of pals that I'm close to getting 10 of, and Rush Hour was next on the list here, so this is the one that we managed to get it up to 10. After that, it was time to go and find a few more pals, the next one being Sparkit, and we spent a bit of time just kind of shooting them from the back of Van Worm here, and managing to get this one too, to get us up to level 10 for that one as well, so that's another set complete. Next, it was time to take on King Packer once again. Now, having reviewed the footage that I already have for this particular clip, I can confirm that last time we did just manage to kill him. Thankfully though, this time the footage didn't get any sort of corruption whatsoever, so this time we did take an attempt at trying to catch him, and yeah, it was a pretty straightforward fight at this level now. I remember the first time I had a bit more trouble with it, but yeah, this time we did manage to catch him, and that's him registered on our list. The next day though, we came across another abandoned mine shaft. Now, I wasn't sure what to find in this one. The last one we found in the desert had ourselves a black marketeer inside, and lo and behold, so did this one. So I wonder if that's just kind of a standard thing. But we did manage to go in and come across a Nox, which I haven't really seen many of, so I figured I've got the money, I may as well buy it. After that though, we are back at base, and we are once again under attack, this time from a different group of raiders. These ones are the Brothers of the Pyre, I believe, or the Eternal Pyre I think they're called. Unfortunately for me, they didn't run straight into the hot tub this time, so I did have to fight them off a little bit. However, a lot of the pals at the base did actually get involved this time, although as you can see, the ones in the background here were just kind of chilling. I think they kind of have to be within range of the action for it to be a part of a thing, but I'm not sure. I'm still trying to figure that out. As I say, the bell I did have a bit of trouble with, so maybe I'm just using it wrong. But either way, I had a bit more help this time when it came to dealing with the raid, and we were pretty successful with it. These guys also drop some decent ammo and loot at times as well, so the bullets that I'm using I end up getting back most of the time. After that, it's back to another hatching session. We got our third Van Worm Chris. I haven't flown one of those yet, but I'm enjoying getting them into the party, as well as another Wumpo. After that, we had a large Scorching Egg that we were hatching, and we managed to get ourselves another Kitso, and I think that's from the breeding that I've been doing. That's number 4 of those that we've got, and finishing it off with another Cognito from a Dark Egg. Speaking of breeding, I put Pen King back in the breeding rotation. I'm still trying to find getting an Anubis. I haven't quite figured out that that's not the way you do it yet. We'll get there eventually. But after that, we've got another boss fight to take care of. This time it's Elphidran. And yeah, this one looked really cool. I like the look of this one. So I was trying my best to try and capture it. And yeah, me and Univolt and a couple of the other guys did spend a bit of time breaking him down. He wasn't too tough, thankfully. And yeah, towards the end, we did attempt to try and catch him. And this is how it went. Day 43 started out by using the condenser to improve one of the pals that we're actively using on the regular, which is Van Worm. I condensed everything I had to try and make that one a little bit stronger. After that though, we have got a boss fight in mind, so I'm trying to get myself as much metal ore as I can, so I spend most of the day just harvesting metal ore, and then heading back to base to make ourselves a fire arrow crossbow, so that we can get ready for the next boss fight, and we managed to grab 105 fire arrows as well. After that though, we had to make the long journey to take on the boss. Now this is where the fast travel points have been coming in very handy, because we'd actually been over this way already and managed to get ourselves pretty close to where it needed to be. And then we came across this lucky Raindrix, which I think was level 46. I am not prepared for that. See if I'm prepared for the boss. Let's see how this one goes.
Yeah. Wow.
So yeah, didn't go great. I'll be honest, I did feel a little hard done by at the time because I thought I was safe enough behind the pillow, but watching it back, I understand how they managed to get me. So we went back over, picked up our stuff, we'll come back here another day. Back at base though, licking our wounds, we did manage to hatch our first Suzaku, which I'm very happy about because the ones that I've seen in the desert have seemed to be pretty high level. We then had a bit of an issue with one of our Kitsons. He kept getting stuck on this little corner. This happened quite a lot throughout the playthrough, whether the boundaries of where they'd built. I think it's because originally I had the food box over there. Now that I've moved it, they seem to get a little stuck up there sometimes. So yeah, that's something we're still trying to figure out. After that though, we made ourselves some more Megaspheres because we have some more pals to catch, and we headed on out on Van Worm just to do a bit more exploring and taking on a couple of these Robin Quills because I knew I'd get some decent XP from these guys. On day 46 we headed on out to take on some of the lower level pals that were still within the world. We still needed to get a couple more chillets, and I thought it would be a good way to level up some of the team that I'm currently working with. And this is the entire boss fight for Chillet, which just goes to show you how high level we are now. We took that guy down in no time whatsoever. After that we made our way over to the next one, and this one was a level 11 sweeper. It was a similar story over here. I just wanted to try and catch a few of them, get some XP for the team that we're working with. I brought Suzaku and Kitsun with me this time to try and level up those guys, and yeah, we took out the little guys that were nearby as well. All the XP is going to definitely help us out. The next day though, we are back out on that metal ore grind, and this is becoming a thing that needs to be happening more and more often, but at this time I'm high enough level where I can try and craft some better weapons and tools so that I can actually make this whole process a bit easier. So with the help of Kitsun, we got some refined ingots on the go, made a bunch more Megaspheres while we were waiting for those to smelt because they're going to be coming in handy for when we're capturing some of the higher level pals, and then after that it was a case of making ourselves a refined metal pickaxe. This is going to make everything that we're doing so far a lot simpler and a lot quicker. After that though, it is back to hatching more eggs, and we got ourselves an lizard bee from a huge verdant egg. We then went over to the pals over in the desert to sell some of the rare materials that we've been catching from the high level bosses that we've been fighting. I'm not sure what they're used for. Someone will probably tell me that I should probably keep those, but at this point in time that's not where my focus was in the game, so I'm not too concerned about it. We then spent a bit more time in the desert taking on our first collection of ray hounds, and I figured I would try and catch one for the first time. And in a moment you'll hear a little noise, which I believe is the notification you get through Steam for when you've got an achievement, but the achievement never popped on the screen. It did look when I checked back though that I did get it, and it was for catching a certain amount of pals. I forget the number. We spent a bit more time over here taking on the other ray hound. We tried to catch him, he didn't want to get in, but when we killed him I leveled up and I'm now level 37. After that though, we headed on over to the Black Marketeer. I bought myself a King Packer because to be honest I couldn't be bothered to fight him again, and it's going to be another way of getting some XP. And then it was time for a fight for this guy that's been living at the top of my base. You can see my base in the background there, a level 38 Mamarest, and this one took a little while. I was hoping to try and catch him, but yeah, we figured we'd spend a lot of time over here taking this guy out. He's always walking backwards and forwards near my base, and I've been wanting to fight him for a while, so I figured why not do it now. So as you can see, this fight went well on into the night, got him really low down to 42 health. I didn't have the right ball to try and catch him, and in the end we just killed him. On day 49, I finally crafted myself a musket. Now, I have been able to craft this thing for a little while. I think I was able to do it either around the same time as the handgun or before, but as you can see from the amount of time it takes to load, I figured the way that I play games and still getting used to the actual gameplay mechanics and things like that, that accuracy with this gun was not going to be as useful to me as speed would be with the handgun, so I waited off crafting this. But as you can see, just from 2 decent headshots to this level 24 Robin Quill, the gun itself is pretty powerful, and I've kind of regretted not having it already, but I'm glad we have it now, because this one was pretty straightforward. After that though, we spent a bit of time catching some more pals, and I came across a level 25 Hellzipher or Hellzipper. This is going to be one of the coolest pals in the game, just visually, it looks really cool. I love the look of this one, and we never caught one yet, so yeah, I figured I'd spend a bit of time trying to get one. We're a level 37 these days, so level 25 should be pretty straightforward, and yeah, with a few shots we did manage to take him down eventually. After that though, we're back at base using some of the souls we've picked up to try and enhance the pals that we've got, especially the ones I'm going to be using more regularly as we go on into battle, because I figured this was going to be a good way to take down the bosses a bit easier if the guys I'm using are a bit tougher. Speaking of being tougher, I improved my shield over to a Giga Shield, which gave me a lot more strength than the regular common shield did, so that in turn is going to make me a bit tougher in these boss fights too. We are back at base doing a bit more refining and a bit more crafting and just generally getting ready for our next stage of our adventure, and as you can see that Ruby and Penking have gave me another egg. Still haven't quite figured out that the post I read online will not give me an Anubis this way. Eventually I do a bit more research and try and look into it a bit further, but you know what, these guys are going to come in handy. I need to stack them all up anyway, and I'm getting Kitsuns from those just in case you were wondering. After that though, we are out exploring again, coming across another huge scorching egg, and I've been picking up these Liftmonk effigies wherever I see them as well to try and improve my catch rate for when I'm taking out these pals. We then came across our very first Digtoise, and after a bit of time, myself and Bushi managed to get him down to a level where I could actually try and catch him, and then we got our very first Digtoise to the team. Then it was one final visit to the Black Mark tier where we got a Mariath. Day 52, and we are just over halfway through the video, so at this point if you are enjoying it and you've not liked it yet, then please consider giving it a like, and if you're not subscribed then please do that too. I've got a few more videos in the works now that I'm back into this routine of making content, so hopefully you'll stick around to watch it. But at the moment we're just in a cave trying to take out as much Paldium fragments as we can. You get larger quantities of it in here than you do in the overworld. The overworld you get blocks of 5, in here it's up to 40, and then of course we're taking out a few more of the pals that we need, rounding off our Killamari collection with this one. Back at base we made ourselves some refined metal armour. As I say a few times, the metal armour and just the armours in general in this game look really cool, so I love the look of this one. It's going to give me a lot more protection, and yeah, it looks really good, I like that. We are then working on improving the base the next morning, and at this point we have just made ourselves our second large pal bed, taking our base up to level 17. We then set about crafting as many Gigaspheres as we could, because I want to try and take out a few more of these high level pals before making ourselves a Ragnarhawk saddle, because we haven't rode that guy yet and I figured it would be pretty cool to head out on him in a little while. We've got another boss fight to do though, of course, and this time it is Warsect who we need to take down. He's a level 30, he shouldn't be too tough, he looks really cool, I love the look of this guy, and yeah, this is how that fight went. Another pal captured, another level up, and then we're into the night now trying to take on a few more of these guys who we still need to get. This one is a Gorirat. I think that's how you pronounce it, Gorirat. It's basically a gorilla looking thing. And yeah, we needed to capture this one as part of our squad. Next day we're out trying to take on a few of these Masanders. We did manage to capture the boss variant by accident earlier in the video as you saw, but yeah, we've got a few more of these guys that we need to take out. Obviously grabbing any eggs and goodies that we see lying around at the same time. I'm not really too concerned if we capture all of them. Sometimes I just hit them a little bit too hard, or the pal hits them a little bit too hard. Either way you get experience, you get more from capturing, I believe, in that initial 10. But yeah, we're going to just kind of work on them as best we can when it comes to sort of leveling up. And that's mainly the goal we're doing here. We're just trying to get as leveled up as we possibly can, so the next time we take on a boss that hopefully we're a bit more successful. Back at base though, it is time for another raid, and this time it is the turn of the Brother of the Eternal Pyre Extremists. These guys are a lot tougher than the regular ones that we've been dealing with, but now that I've got a much better gun, I'm feeling a bit more confident when it comes to fighting them, and we're still trying to work out what's the best strategy with regards to the team here, but most of the pals do end up getting involved at some point, and thankfully, even though I've got no walls up, that's one thing I was thinking about doing, building a base in a future video. For if we do a 200 days on this, for example, I would start building a base with walls and things and defences, but the team usually take care of them pretty quickly. It's very rare that we have too many that have been sort of incapacitated by it, so yeah, the raids haven't been too difficult as of yet, but yeah, maybe we'll do another base in another video and actually get some walls and defences in place, so we don't have to deal with any of this anymore. Okay, it's day 55. I feel like I'm ready for this boss fight again, so I got all the stuff that I needed, travelled on over to where the actual location is for it, which thankfully I've got right next to the actual tower itself, and we're going to give this another go, so let's see how it goes, shall we? After that epic boss battle, we woke up the next day and still had a lot of work that needed to be done. Started by working on the next round of 10 that we're trying to capture. This time is the Relaxaurus, which if you remember was the one that we got from the big massive dragon egg earlier on in the video. And yeah, these guys we managed to take down pretty quickly, and the ones that were still around we killed them off because they drop the pal oil, which is going to be very useful for guns and things like that, so it's definitely worth taking these guys out for that high quality oil. We then set off to rescue another pal that had been captured by the Syndicate. This time it was time to release a Serpent, and I was feeling pretty confident at this point that I didn't need to wipe out the entire crew before actually taking the risk to get the pal out there, because my pals are pretty strong these days. Back at base, we're working on getting some new spheres. This one is the Hypersphere, and we had just enough materials to make one more Gigasphere. These ones are going to come in handy for those tougher boss fights when we try and capture them out in the wild. Then it's back to hatching some more eggs. This time we got some Kelpsea Ignis from the eggs. We've got a few other eggs on the go as well. And yeah, there's a few different pals that we're starting to stack up on now just to really help us get the XP. And as you can see from that one, we got a level up. So it's definitely worth doing it. We're now up to level 39. We're making some really good progress. Final hatch of the day, we got ourselves a Dazzy. Day 58, and we start off by crafting ourselves a double barrel shotgun. Now, in my infinite wisdom, I thought this one was the pump shotgun, and I was really excited. Turns out it's the one that only holds 2 bullets, but that's perfectly fine. We'll still be able to use it, and it's time to take on the next boss for us, which is the gluttonous Thunder Dragon himself, the Relaxaurus Lux. Now, as you saw, we took out a few more of the Relaxauruses in the previous couple of days. This time I was trying to capture the boss, but yeah, turns out I'm a little bit stronger than I thought I was, and we got it down to 265, which I figured was a good way to try and catch it. Took another couple of shots at it, then killed it. Never mind, we'll try again later. After that though, we came across what looked to be another mine shaft, and I thought maybe there's going to be another one of these traders in it. Couldn't find the mine, turns out it was behind the waterfall, which was pretty cool, didn't think that was a thing in this game. So we went on hoping to do a bit more trading with the trader. Turns out this one is actually a boss fight, and it's a level 25 Fengalope. So yeah, figured, you know what, while we're here, may as well fight it.
Yeah. Wah. Yeah.
Day 60, and our pals that we are working with on a regular basis are getting very, very hungry. So I made myself an average feed bag. This allows 2 food slots to be open at all times, meaning that the party will just feed itself when it's hungry. And yeah, it was becoming a bit of a thing where the guys were getting really hungry and I was having to stop and manually feed them all the time. It's mainly the flyer, to be honest, which I understand because obviously I'm flying around in them quite a lot. But yeah, having that extra slot is definitely going to help when it comes to feeding the team. After that though, we came across the Devout's mineshaft, which from the location on the map I was expecting a boss fight this time, so I went in and we got ourselves an Elizabeth who kind of gave us a bit of a jump scare as we walked around the corner. Now I figured that Elizabeth would be fine, it was the bee guards that I was concerned with because as you can see they tend to come out and blow themselves up, and I figured that might be the bigger problem, and they kind of got me cornered in the little entranceway there for a little while. So yeah, that was my main concern. Thankfully we managed to survive that. Now it's just down to taking on Elizabeth herself. And after using Digtois and Ragnarhawk, we managed to get it down to a level where I was able to catch it. And there we go, we've now got ourselves a level 31 Elizabeth. The next day though, we are back on that grind. We are getting some Gigaspheres on the go because we've got some bigger game that we want to catch. And I want to head out on over to the volcano region to take down some of these guys. The Gobfins in the water area were giving me some trouble earlier in the day, so I figured that this time it would just be no different. These guys are pretty tough, so I tried to stay as high up as I could and was throwing orbs at them and managed to capture our first one. Next day though, we got ourselves some heat-resistant refined metal armour for those trips, as well as making a Suzaku saddle because we're high enough level to ride that guy now. And yeah, we went back and made some more spheres as well, because we're going to be spending a good bit of time out exploring over the next few days, and I want to try and capture as many high-level pals as I possibly can. Speaking of capturing pals, we went off to finish off the next round of 10 that we need to capture, which in this instance for me was the serpents that I came across that were near the entrance to this mine area. I noticed there was quite a few swimming in the water here, so I managed to get 10 and get a good decent XP boost from it. Into the cave though, we've got to take on the next boss, which is the Waves of Summer Broncherry Aqua. You may notice we came across a Broncherry earlier on in the playthrough out in the wild, and we had a bit of trouble with it at the time, but as I say, we're a lot higher level now. This is the Aqua variant of the same creature, which I think the colours look really cool, and yeah, this one was quite fun to take down. We did spend a bit of time in here just avoiding its moves before eventually capturing it. The next day, we are out just continuing our quest to capture 10 of everything. We noticed that this Bristler was in a bit of a trouble with the PAL's alliance in the area, so we figured, you know what, we may as well try and capture it to add to our collection, as well as taking out the free PAL alliance Devouts as well, just to get a good bit of XP all around. And we continued that quest to try and get 10 of everything by going after some of these Gale Claws. And yeah, we've using some higher level spheres here. There might be some people who think that's not the best idea. I've got the materials for it and it just makes things easier, so I'm just going to do it. Day 63 started out with a couple of Pyrin hatches. This time though we got one of the regular Pyrin, and then we also got ourselves a Pyrin Noct. So yeah, I was pretty happy with that. Good start to the day. Verdant Egg also gave us a Caprity, meaning that we only need one more to complete that particular set. After that though, we decided to make ourselves another rock quarry. We have a lot of wood at this point and we don't have many rocks, so I replaced the wood one with a rock one to try and get a bit more going because we're going to need those for some of the spheres. We then leveled up our capture ability through the lift monk effigies that we've been capturing, as well as going back to getting a bit more ore grinding on the go before heading home to hatch ourselves our very first beacon. So we're getting some really good hatches these last couple of days. Starting off strong the next morning, hatching ourselves another new one, which is a Blaze Hound Noct. This guy looks really, really cool. And then I went through the list of the pals that we're working on at the moment to kind of capture everything. Pen King is the one that we haven't got many of because we've only fought through the boss fight. However, through the map within the game, it showed me a region where they spawn quite regularly. Once I got over here, I was quite surprised that there was a few things that I'd never came across before. We've took down the regular version of these ETH deers, but this one was the Terror version, and this is going to be another one that we need to capture to get on our little capture everything route thing that we're doing at the moment. So we spent a bit of time over here. I was nervous about landing because I'd seen some people mention that this area was kind of like a PAL type of base. I don't know if I'm in the exact spot for that, but I figured I've got Suzaku anyway, so I'll just fly around and do whatever damage I need to do from the back of him. Also, we came across our very first Pen King, so it turns out the rumours were true, the map was correct, and there were some Pen Kings over here. So this was going to make capturing these guys a lot easier than having to do the boss fight over and over again, because I believe there's an hour cooldown between the boss fights, and I haven't really got time for that in this particular video. So yeah, spent a good bit of time just go around capturing a bit of everything, as well as some Azerobes which were over here. So yeah, there was a good sort of rotation of Azerobes, ETH deers and Pen Kings, with a couple of other pals mixed in as well. And yeah, we're up to level 41 now, so we're making some really good progress. The next few days were very productive for us indeed, so here we are on day 66, starting off by taking down a PAL stronghold and rescuing a Nox. It's only the third one we've came across, so I'm glad that there's a black marketeer in the game that I can occasionally buy them from. We then took down another stronghold and took down a Mao Christ before getting ourselves ready for the next boss fight on list, which in this case was a Lunaris. Now we already have a few Lunarises back at base, but this one is the boss version, and obviously I want to try and either capture or kill every boss that I come across. I don't think it's possible to get them all done in this one video, because that wasn't my initial goal at the start. It was just something that kind of happened as the playthrough has gone on that I was really pushing towards. So yeah, I'm still open to doing a second video if people are interested in seeing it, because I've really had a lot of fun playing this game. But yeah, here we go, trying to take down the Lunaris, and after wearing it down to 145 health, myself and Suzaku were able to take it right down so we could capture it. Back at base, we are crafting ourselves some cold-resistant refined metal armour before heading on over to where we got the Pen Kings from to try and do some real grinding on getting these guys caught. So we took out a valet first of all. I've only ever seen one of these from a black marketeer before, so I was pretty happy to know that they can spawn over here. Maybe it's a few more that we can get while we're over this direction, because that's only the third one we've ever came across. And then it was a case of trying to work on getting the Pen Kings, Azerobes and the Ichthyias as well, and I want to try and spend as much time as I could here over the next couple of days to get all of those under control and get all of those done up to level 10, which is obviously going to give us a big boost in XP as well. This one being the third one, so we've got a good bit to go, but as you can see we're getting nearly 10,000 XP from each one we catch, which at this point is really useful to us as we go about leveling up. Number 10 of Azerobe is finally caught, and then we move on to try and capture our next one, which is the Pen King. I think this is the one where we finally get up to level 10, so that's that one done. Now we've just got to spend a bit of time trying to take down these Ichthyias. Thankfully they're not too difficult to take down, and by the next day we'd managed to get 10 of those as well. So we're making some really good progress over these last few days. After that though, it's heading on over to the desert to try and sell some of these guys. Maybe I should be condensing them, I don't know. Personally I like just doing it this way because it means I can spend money on the pals I don't come across very often, like Lavanders. That's another one that I can get bought, as well as the Dazzies. I know they're over here in the desert, but sometimes it's just easier this way in terms of progress to just buy as many as you can, and by simply doing that this time, we got leveled up to level 42, which is going to mean that we can finally, after all this time, craft ourselves a pump action shotgun, which is what I thought I could have crafted a long while ago, and this is going to be vital for when we come across our next few boss fights. Back at base, I just wanted to give you an idea of just how much coins we are getting from the Maus over at our little ranch here. This is just one simple run around, and from this entire war ground here, we've got over 1,000 coins. This is a regular occurrence back at the base, so this is why I'm not too concerned about selling the pals, because I'm mostly putting the money back into ammo and buying new ones anyway. And then of course it's back on the grind, ready for the next adventure. Here we are on day number 69, and we are finally making ourselves a pump action shotgun. So yeah, this is a pretty good day. We managed to get a decent gun on day number funny number. That wasn't all we did on day 69, of course. I couldn't let the internet's favourite number go by without having a little bit more content for this one, so we crafted a few more balls, ready to start throwing them around however we feel like it to get what we are after. Now that I've said that out loud, that sounds really, really bad. Anyway, we worked on getting this cap ready. I think this was number 10 that we needed to complete that particular set of pals before finishing the day off by doing some more grinding. Next day though, we are back ready to get into the boss battles, and we are over here on the Moonless Shore to take on this Elphidran. Now this guy I thought looked really cool. It's another one of the pals that I really like the look of, and yeah, we're going to spend a bit of time working on this one. It's a level 30, so a little tougher than a few of the last ones we fought. However, we're at a decent enough level now that we're not really too concerned about these guys, and we're essentially just trying to catch them. And as always, I'm trying to spin around and get a cool capture shot like this, and occasionally it works. That's the third one we've got. I didn't realise we had 3 at this point already. Straight into another boss battle though, and we're taking on the gloom-shrouded bloodsucker himself, the level 23 Felbat. And yeah, this is again another one that we're kind of level for that shouldn't be too much of a concern. I'm just kind of using whichever pal at this point. Suzaku's kind of my go-to guy for most things, and yeah, he's doing a good bit of damage on pretty much anything that we take on. So yeah, we wore this one down a little bit until we got into a low enough level rather, so that we can try and capture him. And once again, we were pretty successful in this endeavour. The fun doesn't stop there though, and it's time to get some use out of this pump action shotgun as we came across Wings of Thunder, the level 29 beacon, in this little dip area, which is a little bit of a different area that we usually fight bosses. So this one made it a little bit more unique, and I really enjoyed the fact that not every single boss you fight is in the exact same area. And this time we used our Raindrix out here to just try and get some levels up on this particular guy. Wore it down a little bit before attempting to try and catch it with one of the Gigaspheres, and yeah, we were pretty successful over these last couple of days. We've been catching a lot of good stuff and making some really good progress. Day 72, and we are feeling good. We are off to take on King Packer again, mainly to just try and get as much XP as we can, again from trying to capture these guys. At this point, I know a few of them do get a little bit repetitive, which is why I have been buying a few from traders whenever I get the option, because I don't really want to do this fight all the time, and I've not seen King Packer anywhere in the wild. So yeah, this one might take a little while to get the 10 of, but I feel like we're making some good progress. I believe this one is number 3, so I'm very happy with how it is actually going. Back at base though, we've got more eggs to hatch, and this one we got ourselves a Mao Christ, which took us up to level 43, so we're making some good leveling progress. The next egg we got ourselves a Swee, which is the 9th out of 10 that we've caught of those, and then the 3rd and final frozen egg gave us a Chillet, so yeah, we're making some good progress there too. A lot of egg hatching going on in these videos because it's a big part of the playthrough that I've done, but it's been out beneficial because we're getting a lot of XP from it. As you can see, the Toko was one that we needed, and the Nightwing was also one we needed, so every single one that we hatched there wasn't a duplicate of something that we'd already got the 10 of, which was a really, really big bonus for me. After that though, we've got a little bit more grinding to do because we are preparing ourselves for another boss fight, and it's time to get as much metal as possible so we can craft as much ammo as possible, make sure all of our equipment and spheres and things are ready for the next journey. And yeah, we're just basically going to be spending a bit of time crafting up as much materials as we can, and then heading on over to the desert region to buy some ammunition with the profits that we've been making from selling some of these pals. And yeah, that's basically how it's been going today. Preparing for that next boss fight and just seeing if they've got anything interesting worth buying. At this particular time they haven't really got a whole lot, but we managed to sell a decent amount and actually get a good bit of money there, so we're now back up to 36,000. It's now time for the next boss battle. Are we ready for it? I guess we'll find out. So from the highest of highs to the lowest of lows, I realised at this point we weren't even really making too much damage to this guy. and it didn't take him too long to wipe us out. So yeah, we've still got a good bit of leveling we need to do before we can take on this boss. Day 74 started with a different kind of raid than the ones we've been getting usually from the PAL sort of enemies. This time is actual PALs themselves, and it was a Toko implode unit that was on its way to try and attack us. I figured I'd try and be a bit proactive though, because with these guys blown up I didn't want them doing any damage to my base, so I jumped on Suzaku and flew off to try and take down as many as I could, and actually try and capture a few in the process, seeing as though these guys are still part of the 10 collection that I need, and I managed to do just that. We got up to 8 of them, so that was a pretty good start. After that though, we headed on out into the frozen regions, because I figured the team that I went into the boss fight with clearly weren't strong enough, so if I tried to take on some guys that were higher level to begin with, and then I could look to improve these ones, then we'd be in much better stead for the fight. Starting off with a level 40 Cryolinx, I figured this guy would come in very handy for such a boss fight, and now that I have the shotgun with a decent amount of ammo, I'm able to wear them down quicker, and I'm able to try and capture them with the better spears that we have, so this was a really good start for that. Next step though, we heading on into the Forgotten Mineshaft, and we came across a King Packer that was a little bit different than the one we've been usually fighting, which is the King Packer Christ. This guy is a level 46, which is pretty tough for us at this point, so this fight is going to take a little while, and we did actually do it pretty slow and pretty patient, and I'm starting to get better with the case of when the enemy attacks, withdrawing your PAL and that sort of stuff, and I think that's where I've been learning from these defeats with the bosses, where I'm trying to pick up on some new skills and stuff, because many a time they will just flat out wipe out my guy when I could have just moved them out of the way, and again it's just this type of thing that's going to take a little while to get used to in this type of playthrough. I did try to catch him after getting him down to 28 health, knew it wasn't going to happen, so I just killed him. I'm happy enough with that, and that is a lot of XP for my team over there. While I was in here though, I noticed these rocks were a little different than what we'd seen outside, and it's pure quartz, so I harvested up all of it that I could find, figured it would come in handy for something. We are back out trying to capture more pals though, and Mauchrist is next on the list. I knew I was getting close to finishing these ones, and I managed to actually get a decent few of them around this area, and after spending a bit of time working on this one, we got up to number 7. Back at base, we hatched our 9th Mauchrist of our collection, so we've only got one more of those to go before hatching another Raindrix. So yeah, the egg hatching is working out really well for us in terms of a good XP boost. We then made ourselves some Hyperspheres so we can try and capture some of more difficult pals. We're up to level 7 with our Liftmonk energy, so our capture rate's going to improve, and then we were back on the grind for more metal. We then headed on out to the desert to try and get ourselves some more of these tougher pals, and the Robin Quill Terror was next on the list for us. This is the 3rd one that we've managed to catch, and we're getting a good bit of XP from each one, so this is really helping us out. Back at base though, we hatched our first Raptyro Christ, and I was very happy about that. I figured this guy would come in handy for a boss fight if we can level him up. And then we immediately got a Sibilix as well, followed by a couple more large frozen eggs, which has given us a really good boost here with XP. We got a second Sibilix from the next egg, and then we've got one more egg to hatch in this particular run, and from this one we got ourselves a Foxicle. Day 78 started out by crafting the level 2 production line. We need to start cranking up some of the grinding and things and the crafting that we're doing, so these better assembly lines are going to make that possible, and we need to improve our shield as well. We got destroyed in the last boss battle, so this time around we're going to be going in with a hyper shield, which is going to give us a lot more protection when it comes to actually fighting enemies. This one's a 1045. After that though, we went on our adventures and we rescued a cow from the top of a tree. Not sure how he got up there. I'd love to know how he got up there. If you want to leave your theories in the comments, please let me know. But yeah, this one was also an important capture for us because it was the 10th one we caught, completing another row of pals. After that though, we headed on into a nearby cave and managed to get a couple of these Nox pals, which we haven't seen too many of at the moment, so this is a really good place for us to be right now. We're going to need to capture as many of these as we can. I think we need another 4 or 5 at this point. So yeah, this was a nice little surprise. I didn't expect them to be in here. I've left this clip in because I guarantee at this point I was texting my good friend Elle, and I've also made a point of trying to release this video on her birthday, so please join me in saying happy birthday to Elle in the comments. She's been a big motivation for me through a lot of things, but in particular recently getting this video finished. She knows that I was kind of struggling creatively quite a bit, and yeah, she's really helped with that. So thanks again, Elle, we love you a lot. Thank you very much. After that though, it is back to doing a bit more hatching. As you can see, we got another kit son there. We're still working with the same rotation of pals that we're using every day, because I figured at this point I realised I've messed up with the ones I'm trying to get Anubis. May as well just try and get the 10 while they're in there. And then of course it's back to a bit more grinding while taking on another Toko implode unit. Managed to take them all out in one shot, and unfortunately this poor little cat got killed in the meantime, so whoops, sorry. After that, we headed on out to the desert and we spent a good chunk of our money on ammunition, because at this point I want to get as prepared as possible for the next boss fight, which we're going to be doing soon. Then back to the base to make our next production line. This one's going to speed up our sphere building abilities. Day 81 starts by crafting out some Ultra Spheres. I think these are the first time we've had the Ultra ones, and we had enough materials to get 7. Then I tried to take on Axel and Ozerk again, and yeah, I feel like I'm getting a little bit better with the actual fighting, but if you look, we've only done like 30k damage to him in 2.5 minutes, which I guess we could realistically have pulled it off, but yeah, I'm still trying to figure out his path in, and it didn't exactly work out the way I had hoped. I feel like it's important for me to put these defeats in here every now and again, because I think it just makes the video a bit more organic and see that I'm still learning as I'm playing the game. And yeah, it gives me a bit more added motivation to do it properly the next time around. So with that in mind, we headed on back out to try and capture some higher level pals, this time trying to take down a level 43 Wumpo. Now some of the pals I've got that I've hatched from eggs, obviously we can level them up, but it would be a bit easier if we capture high level ones and then focus on training those guys for the fights, because I feel like that's just probably going to be the best way that I can actually take care of Axel and Ozerk and a few other bosses in the game. So we continue that by taking down a Cryolinx. There is the odd occasion when I'm a little bit too strong with the shotgun and I have to really pull back a little bit, but it is fun trying to take down these higher level ones, especially riding the back of Suzaku, because I can mostly get away from any and all attacks as they focus on me. We then spent a bit more time trying to capture a few more pals. This time around we managed to get ourselves a Mamarest Christ, so that's another big score for us, before heading back to base to hatch another Bushi, and we've also got another large Scorching Egg on the go, and from this particular egg we managed to get ourselves another Kitsune, so we're doing well in terms of catching all of those. Day 84 starts out with our usual egg hatching routine. This time we got a Chillet from a frozen egg, followed up with a second frozen egg where we managed to get the last Mao Chris that we needed to complete the 10 set. After that though, we were off for our next boss fight, and this time it was time to head to the sealed realm of the Swift to take down the Gale of the Forest itself, the level 35 Verdash. Now this guy I figured would come in very handy for some future fights that I have in mind, and our flame guys I would imagine are pretty good against the grass type. Again, all of the actual guides for this and the best sort of elemental battle ranges are within the guide within the game. I'm basically going off what little Pokemon knowledge I have and kind of using the same theory, and it seems to be working out alright because we did manage to capture this one. After that though, we headed on over to the volcano regions because there was a few of the flame guys that we still haven't caught yet, or we need to catch to increase the 10 pack that we're going for each time. So this one started out by working on an Arsox, which took us to the 10th capture, and then there was a few Flambells nearby that we also needed to deal with. Next day though, it's time for one of the toughest out in the real world boss battles that we've done for quite some time. This one is a level 45 Yormuntide, the Emperor of the Sea, and yeah, this one was going to be a really tough fight. If I can capture this guy, then he will be a huge addition to the team, but I'm mainly concerned about just trying to see how it goes the first time around. I can always come back a second time and try and catch him later. I just want to see what damage I can do to the guy, get an idea for his sort of pathing patterns, and see how it goes. And unfortunately, we ran out of spheres that would be used for the catcher. I threw a Mega Sphere at it with a 0% chance of catching it, so at this point I thought, you know what, screw it, we'll just let our guy take care of him, and we got a good amount of XP for that, so it was worth it in the end. After that though, we switched out the breeding pair and we had a Wumpo and one of these cryo sink guys. I forget, is it Cryolix maybe? And anyway, this time around he gave us a huge verdant egg. I've kind of given up on the idea of getting an Anubis at this point and switched out to different pairs just to see what interesting stuff we can get from the eggs and get a different variety of the guys we need to catch. This other huge verdant egg that we got previously gave us a Mama Rest, so I figured that's probably going to do a similar thing here, which is going to save us going out to try and catch them because they are quite difficult to catch. At that point though, we headed on over to the desert, spent most of our money on some more ammunition because we now have an assault rifle that we're going to be crafting soon, so I figured that I would get some ammunition prepared for that while we finish off the last of the grind to get the levels we need to actually make the gun itself. I figured that if I got enough assault rifle ammo and made the assault rifle for the boss fights, I would be a bit better equipped to take down the guy, because my main focus at the moment is to try and work on the dude on the back of the PAL, which is something I picked up from reading some tips online. So yeah, we're just trying to get as much levels as we can so we can reach that level so that we can go ahead and craft that gun ready to take down the boss again. So we're out in the desert taking on some more of these tougher level PALs, and this time around we've managed to capture them, and Surfing Terror is now in the team. Day 87, and we are once again under attack, this time from the Syndicate Elites. I really should have put a wall around this base at some point, although at this point these guys aren't very tough for us. We've got a decent amount of ammo, our squad is very tough, and yeah, you actually get some good rewards from them. You get a decent bit of XP, you get some ammo and coins and PAL spheres as well, so it's not too big of a trouble to fight them, but it's just feel like we were getting raided pretty much every day at this point. The next day we are out trying to capture the last few remaining gobfins that we need to complete 10 for this particular PAL so that we get that all important XP boost that we are looking for. These guys, when I was a bit of a lower level, were an absolute nightmare because there's always a lot of them over here and they are quite hostile, but now that we're higher up in levels they weren't too difficult to take down, and we managed to get the remaining ones that we needed to get that all important 10 and get the remaining XP boost that we needed from this particular PAL. We continued our quest to get 10 PALs of each particular kind, and we were wrapping things up on Robin Quill, and this one was going to be a very important one for us because we're getting very close to level 45, which is where we're going to get our assault rifle from. After that we headed back to base to hatch a couple more eggs. We got the 10th Mama Rest with a decent XP boost as well, and then of course we were going to spend some time crafting that assault rifle because we are getting close to taking on that boss one more time. We've also managed to get a decent amount of ammo for this one, so we then set out to the desert. We sold off the remaining PALs that we weren't going to use, sunk all of our money into some ammunition, and then we were getting ready to head on off to fight the boss one more time. I'd also just like to take this time to say that if you are at this point in the video and you are enjoying what you are seeing, then please do consider giving me a like. It would also be really cool if you could subscribe. We've got a decent amount of subscribers on the channel and I haven't posted anything in a long time. I'm really working on making some new content for you. I've got this video, I've got a long dark video that is almost ready to go, as well as a few other things such as 7 Days to Die, Stardew Valley, and a bunch of other content, so I'm hoping you stick around. But yeah, this one has been a lot of fun and I've finally got a chance to take on the boss properly, so let's see how it goes this time round. On day 91 we headed straight back to try and capture some of the pals that we are missing. We headed on over to the island where we found the Pen Kings, and this time we came across one of these guys which we hadn't captured in quite some time, an Elphidran. After that, it was time to take on the next boss for us, which in this instance was a Quiven. He's a level 23, so it shouldn't be too difficult, but I just not came across this one before. There's a lot of places as you travel around the world that they start becoming visible, and yeah, this is the one that we hadn't had a go at yet. As you can see, we took him down pretty quickly. I did try to capture him, but it just wasn't meant to be, so I killed him instead. Next step though was back to breeding, and I finally found the right pair to get ourselves an Anubis, or I'm hoping to at least. I breeded a Bushi and a Pen King. I got ourselves the egg that I was told is the correct one, which is the huge rocky egg, so hopefully it works out for us this time and we get Anubis. After that though, we have got some more egg hatching that we need to do, starting off with another Suzaku. That is the fourth one we've got. We stuck another huge egg in there and then headed back out to get some more ammunition, ready for the next boss fight, as well as gathering some coal so we can make a bunch of gunpowder. As we're starting to wrap up this video while we're taking down this land ball, I figured I'd tell you how I feel about the game in general, whether I want to continue playing it, what my plans are for it, and whether or not it'd be something you're interested in seeing, because if not, I'm more than happy to just play it on my own time. Genuinely enjoyed this game. I played it pretty soon after it first came out. This video has took a little while in between working and sort of other things going on to actually put together. It took me about a month in total because these videos do take a lot of recording, then there's a lot of editing that gets involved, and obviously the voiceover and all that sort of stuff. I really enjoy that process, and it's took a little while for me to get back into this mindset, so I'm glad that I'm back with it now, and this game has been a lot of fun. And I think part of the reason I'm back into it is because of how much I've enjoyed this game. And it's been really cool, the sort of Pokemon aspect to it, with the whole open world explorer games. That's a bit of me, and I really have enjoyed it. I'm more than happy to sort of make a 200 days on this if it's something that you would like to see. Or if not, I'm more than happy to play it on my own time. Either way, it's been a lot of fun. But I figured I'd spend that little bit of time at the start of this clip just to give you my overall thoughts on it. And yeah, it's definitely a game I would recommend if it's something that you've seen videos on and are not too sure if it's for you. I 100% would recommend giving it a go. We're now using the legendary spheres that we've just crafted to try and take down the ruler of the Crimson Dawn, a level 45 Suzaku. He's a much higher level than the one we have. I figured this guy could come in handy for a potential future boss fight, and now that I've got the legendary spheres, I figured I would be able to try and take him down. So I went out to the desert with my Azarob and Pen King and a few other guys trying to level them up and see if we could take it down. And after spending a good bit of time getting him health down right to level 33, I then tried to capture him with one of the legendary spheres, and yeah, it was a pretty good attempt. I like that we've managed to get this sort of hero shot as well as you turn around to capture it. That's a really fun aspect of the game. So yeah, maybe it's just me who enjoys that, but I thought that was pretty cool. Finally though, back at base, we managed to successfully hatch an Anubis. We finally got the breeding pair correct. And off the back of that, we also had a large damp egg that we needed to hatch, which would give us another Pen King, which was largely part of the reason we were able to get Anubis to begin with, followed on by another Anubis. Day 96 started off by crafting out some Ultra Spheres. We had some big game in mind, and we're going to need the best ones that we can have as a good chance of catching them. I set off to the desert to start on our XP boost run by taking down a Rayhound, followed by a Robin Quilterra, but then I had much bigger target in mind. I headed on back to where Yormantide was. After the first time we tried to capture him, we didn't have the correct spheres to try and catch him. I figured I'd be able to do it with an Ultra Sphere, so I took out my Anubis, who I've managed to get up to level 27 at this point just from doing that XP run, to try and take him down. We got him down to about 15 health, and I wanted to try and get him onto land because I figured that would be a much easier chance of catching him out here. We threw the first Ultra Sphere. We only had a 2% chance of capturing him, which it got up to 13, and then he jumps back out again. But on the second throw, I was feeling a little bit more confident. Once you get that first little shake, it jumps up to 44%, and then finally, after all this time, we finally got ourselves a Yormantide. The next step though was to try and take down a few more bosses, and after that victory, this game once again decided it was the right time to humble me. I came across a destroying mineshaft and went inside and found a level 48 Astagon, and this guy was absolutely brutal. Now this is where I feel like I would like to come back and try and do this again, maybe in a 200 days, or even as I say, just on my own playthrough of it. Whether you want to see it again, let me know. but I managed to get him down to just under half health before getting absolutely wrecked. Back at base, licking our wounds a little bit, we are back on hatching eggs, and we got ourselves a Missander, and then we've got a couple more eggs that we can try and hatch, and we're going to get another Anubis. I'm going to keep these in the rotation for breeding until I've got the whole 10, and then maybe we can even look to work on getting a few more so we can condense them and improve the ones we have. After that though, we're on one final grind for a bunch of materials, whether that be metal or coal. We want to get as much stuff as we possibly can ready for the upcoming boss fight. We hatched another Lee's Punk Ignis from an egg, which is a pretty cool one to have. We've got a few of those already. And we had a couple more eggs that were still within incubation, getting another Kelpsie Ignis this time. We woke up the next morning with more grinding in mind. We headed on out to the volcano to get as much sulfur as we possibly could because we need to get our ammo crafting going. While we were here though, I came across a level 34 Reptyro, and while we have the ice version of this particular pal, we don't actually have this version of it, so I figured while we're here we may as well try and catch it. So I sent Anubis down, who is level 32 at this point thanks to the grinding that we've been doing, to try and take him down before floating down ourselves with the glider to help him out and go in for the catch. So this one was a pretty fun fight. I've enjoyed taking on some of these pals over here near the volcano. Some of them are really tough, but yeah, it does definitely test your abilities in terms of dodging attacks and things like that. And eventually, we finally managed to capture him. Back at base, we are hatching eggs yet again, and this time it was our second Ragnarhawk. That was pretty much the last hatch that we got for the day, before the next morning getting ready to hatch a couple more eggs, which this time we got ourselves another Anubis. Now that I've got 6 of them through breeding, I decided to condense the ones that I have to make the one I'm using a bit more powerful, because we've got one more big fight in mind, and it's getting to that time where we need to prepare for it. So I'm giving as much souls as I can to the pals that I want to take into the fight with me, to see how it goes up against our last big boss of the video. So unfortunately the last boss fight didn't go exactly as I'd hoped, but I have really enjoyed this video and I hope you have too. So if you have liked it, please leave a comment below on who your favourite pal was. Thanks again for being patient with me. I know I've been gone for a while, but I'm going to have more content coming soon, and I'll see you all very, very soon.